is happening more and more often. So land they don't make anymore. Some of the land, the deserts are expanding. Climate change is controversial for some people. I don't know how, but even if you don't think it's changing, at least incrementally, it goes back and forth from year to year, decade to decade. You have to adjust to it. California, we happen to be in a continent or in North America where we're some of the most fertile land in the world. 30 to 50 years, it will not be so at the current rate. The aquifers that are being drained, etc., which goes into the water. The aquifers in California are being drained. I think Texas has a huge one in West Texas. My home state, also don't know what it is. The fresh water that's being used for cattle and pork processing is, I'm a vegetarian, but I don't have anything against carnivores. It just happens to work out that way. But it's amazing, the depletion. And it takes a lot of time for that water to get down to those aquifers. At the rate we're pumping it out, it's just not sustainable. It can't be done. All right. So there's a water issue with vertical farming that we're addressing that helps. I think by most estimates, you reduce water consumption by 90% per pound of produce. Protein. I won't talk about the protein that we can get so much from aquaculture, so much as it is a contrast of the food consumption habits right now, especially in the Western world. Beef, chicken, poultry, etc. It's centralized, it's a very efficient system, but the waste product, the shipment, the pesticides, the drugs that are used to fatten up the animal produce or livestock, that is also not sustainable. And that affects children as far as the steroids that are being injected. It affects adults as well. But it's just not a sustainable thing. But we're a protein-rich country. You go to my home state of Texas, and you'll get meat 3 times a day. And I have relatives that now are reaching their middle age, and guess what? They have prescriptions for this, they have prescriptions for that. Some of it is genetics, but especially with African American culture, just the diet, it's just you can't do it. You can't eat that much pork, you can't eat that much beef. That's been injected with XYZ and not have some repercussions. I'm not trying to scare anybody. Barbecue still smells good, it still looks good. But I have a sense of stomach, I've been off of it for a while, so I can't go back. I probably won't fall a long time ago. So vertical farming we're going to talk about. So here's the circle. What does it mean? So I think with vertical farming, we're taking care of a land issue, we're taking care of a water issue, and we're offering an alternative to the protein-heavy consumption patterns that we have here in this country. A derivative of which would be high fructose corn syrup. We're feeding cattle and injecting them with steroids so they can actually feed on corn because corn fattens you up. And so there's a whole sub-industry of just making everything you can out of that corn. You just don't need that much of it. All right? I think I'm going to make that slide up. So the future. More money equals less problems. I put that as a question mark. So I say this, there's a contract that you sign when you graduate, when you go to business school at the University of Chicago. And they say if you ever get into the hollow halls of another academic institution, one you have to give us a shout out that you're at the University of Chicago, and you have to show a supply-demand chart. It's an economics school, you gotta do it. Otherwise they take back your paper. And since I still hold money, yeah, I gotta do this, all right? So indulge me. But I think this is good. It's gonna, we have any economists out there? Anybody studying economics? All right. I apologize, but I gotta do it. So this is an inverted demand curve, all right? So here's demand. We're gonna say that's the price. So that should be a P up there. So here's the price. Let's say it's the price of produce. And here's quantity. All right, how much produce will actually be consumed. And this is what's going on. So let's say what Andrew was showing. He was talking about, what was it, fennel? That you were saying was going for like $22 for what, 4 ounces? Yeah, so that's the equivalent of what? $80 a pound. $80 plus. It's amazing, isn't it? So we're way up here. Now why is it $80-something a pound for fennel? Okay, here's the quantity. Well, I rephrase the question. At $80 a pound, how many people are going to buy a pound of fennel? Very few, right? Very few. So there you go. So we illustrate it. It looks more fancy than it really is. Price goes up, fewer people are taking it. That's it. All right. Now as the price comes down, what happens? Oh, so you know what? Fennel's pretty good. I'm going to buy some arugula. I've grown a lot of arugula, killed a lot of arugula, but I've grown a lot of arugula snobs. I grew up in Texas, man. I got kids that are arugula snobs, and it's great. They're eating produce, they think it's the coolest. My little daughter gets a little cup. Daddy, yes, and Daddy, arugula. Oh, yeah. It's a beautiful thing. This is a good business. So there's a feel-good factor, but we're going to get back to the supply-demand chart. All right? Here we go. So yeah, so this is where I think, and I don't think there's enough discussion about it. Some can argue, okay, it's elitist, some of the things that you're doing, or as much of academics, you got smart people like Andrew doing it. You know, what about the regular folks? You got food deserts, etc., and so on. Well, first of all, I'm going to say the food deserts, they wouldn't necessarily, probably not using a lot of film. They're probably not using a lot of arugula, etc. It's just not in their diet when you know how to use it. And that's not a condescending statement to them. It's you're priced out of it. Now, what if it comes down to here? You know, what if we can grow even traditional, say the African American diet, soul food? So now you're growing greens indoors at a price point that's comparable to getting it elsewhere, year round. Guess what? You have more uptake. Maybe the desert's not a desert so much anymore. So as the price comes down, there will be more uptake. And the only way you can get this price down is you have alternatives like us, people growing indoors. Right? You don't have to wait for it to come from California. You don't have to get it flown in from South America. And then I got to mark it up because it's at a real fancy restaurant. The price will come down if you have more suppliers. You have more uptake because the price is down. That's all this chart is showing. And that's a, inverted demand curve for economists. And I think sometimes when we try to do great things in the community, some people are poo-poo because we're not talking about the economics of it. And the people that are heavy on the economic side try to argue that, you know, you can't make it feel good thing, make money. Yes, you can. That's what we're trying to do. All right, that's what we're trying to do here. All right, I think I can that one up. That's arugula. It's in a tray like Andrew was saying. So when I started off, it was just me in the basement, literally in the basement of the plant. We moved upstairs. We're moving up. We're moving up. Although I still owe John this month's rent money, that's the truth. That's probably why he's here. But started off just working on arugula, and this is what it looks like. It's beautiful, it's great, you can grow it indoors, it's pretty awesome. And if I can do it, definitely there's some more uptake. Here's bull's blood. I think this is an example of something that's probably just not going to be seen at your regular place or restaurant. I think going over time here. I've never saw it before until a couple of months ago. It's very pricey, very elitist. It's a beautiful garnish. You see it at banquets. I think it's like $60 a pound or something like that. You know? But you know, if the price comes down, maybe people will start doing bull's blood. See, it's photogenic, it's beautiful. You'll see it at your fine dining restaurants, but you won't see it anywhere else. But this is something that we're able to do now. So, more greens. I think that's press. So anyway, that's my information. Galen at skygreens.com. For those of you looking to get into business, happy to encourage that. There's a Facebook address, Twitter. I don't tweet, but I want to learn one day. This is just some shots of what it looks like. Some of the lights we played around with, the LEDs. On the right, that's what it looks like when it's all full and fluffy. But I'll turn it over to Blake. Thanks for your time.
So we're willing and hopefully able to answer questions. Yes.
So I'm curious to work in the problems you guys wanted to do. One thing I'm wondering about is hydrogens and license and second, I grow a lot of trees.